Okay. On the record in cause number 320716, the case is styled the state of Texas versus Darrell C. Woodside. Mr. Woodside, would you please come forward? Okay. We have Mr. Darrell C. Woodside. That's your full name?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Woodside is represented by attorney Tom Burbank. Mr. Burbank is appearing via Zoom. Mr. Burbank, how are you doing?
Doing fine, Your Honor.
That's good. And Mr. Woodside, how are you doing?
I'm great.
You're great. Now, Mr. Burbank, previously you had you had filed a motion to substitute. That motion was signed on March 12th of 2021, and the court has before it a motion to withdraw that was filed on May 21st of 2021 in Mr. Woodside's case. Is that correct?
That's correct, Judge.
Now, you may
as
go forward.
alleged- Yeah, as alleged in the motion, Your Honor, communication and fulfillment of any obligations is non-existent.
Okay, I was looking at your motions. It doesn't say anything about communication or fulfillment. Only thing it says is that you no longer, defendant no longer desires movement to represent him in this matter. Is that's what your motion says?
I'm trying to look at it, Your Honor.
Okay.
And there must have been a communication between Mr. Woodson and my office.
Okay, Mr. Woodside, is that correct?
The only thing that I couldn't get was information from a doctor saying about my diabetes. And I tried to get that through the jail, but they said that my lawyer would have to take care of that. And I did mention that to one of his receptions, but I heard nothing else about it. My problem was I didn't have the money to pay him to represent me. That was my main problem. I couldn't come up with the money.
Okay, now previously you had an attorney that was appointed to represent you. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And that was Mr. Terrence Allison. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you had some communication problems with Mr. Allison. Is that correct?
No, I only saw Mr. Allen, the only time I saw him was here in court. The only thing we was gonna do is I was gonna get Mr. Thomas Burbank because my brother was gonna help me get the money to pay Mr. Burbank. And I felt that I would get a better representation from Mr. Burbank than Mr. Allen.
Okay, so now you're saying that you don't, well, the Mr. Burbank's motion states that you no longer desire him to represent you. Is that correct?
No, that's not correct. I would love him to represent me. I just don't have the money right now to pay him to represent me. You know, you have another job coming up.
Okay,
It's gonna be a while before I get the money, but
Okay.
I'd love him to do it.
okay, now, Mr. Woodside, this case was filed over 2 years ago,
Yes, sir.
okay, and you've been here several times.
Yes, sir.
You was given several resets, right?
Yes, sir.
Stated you wanted to have an attorney appointed to represent you. You had one appointed to represent you. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And then because of some difficulty with that, you said you was going to hire Mr. Burbank.
Yes, sir.
And now you're telling the court you don't have the money to hire Mr. Burbank,
Yes, sir.
all right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Burbank, what you want to do in regards to this case?
Oh, Your Honor, I think I asked that the motion be granted. I still rely upon that there was probably a miscommunication and failing um, um, him to stay in contact with our office because I always try to work things out. But I think he got crossways. Probably what it appears in the motion with somebody in my office in reference to his obligations and his representation. And at that point, he decided he didn't want me anymore.
Is
So
that
I'd
correct?
ask that you sign the motion, Judge.
Figured that they just got off my case.
Well, he's filing a motion to withdraw to get off your case. He's not off your case. And so he's asking now, do you have any objections to him withdrawing from representing you?
I would love him to represent me. I would. Because that's the only way I feel that.
Now, Mr. Woodside, you had a contractual obligations with Mr. Burbank,
Yes, sir.
and you have not fulfilled those contractual obligations,
No, sir.
and you are unable to fulfill those contract obligations. Is that correct?
This time I'm not.
Okay.
I know I will.
Well, I'm saying, you were saying at this time, you're unable to fulfill those contractual obligations, and Mr. Burbank desires to withdraw as your attorney. I mean, based on the grounds that he just mentioned orally, which is, I guess, an amendment to his motion to withdraw. Okay. So, okay, at this time, the court is going to allow Mr. Burbank to withdraw for representing you in this matter. What's the day is June 11th. Mr. Burbank, the court has just signed the motion allowing you to withdraw.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I be excused?
Yes, you may be excused.
Have a good weekend, Your Honor.
Same to you. Okay, now, Mr. Woodside, Mr. Burbank is no longer your attorney. This case, as I said, has been going on for 2 years. And so therefore, at this time, the court had allowed you to, let me do this here. Give me the judge's explanation as a judge's explanation. There's a former, it says judge explanation, yes. Yeah, I have, yeah. Now, give him provide him with a copy. Now, Mr. Woodside, as a defendant in a criminal case, you have 3 options. You may hire an attorney, and that's number 1. Number 2, if you do not have enough money to hire an attorney, you may request an attorney be appointed to represent you. Number 3, you may represent yourself. If you want an attorney to represent you and have enough money to hire an attorney, the case will be reset to give you time to do so. If you want an attorney and do not have the money to hire one, you will need to fill out a financial questionnaire so that the proper person can determine whether or not to appoint an attorney to represent you. You may not speak to the prosecutor about your case unless you sign a written waiver of your right to be represented by an attorney. Be aware that there are dangers to self-representation. Waiving your right to an attorney and representing yourself may result in a worse outcome for you and your case, including the loss of significant legal rights and opportunities relating to military service, possession of a firearm, housing and public benefits, child custody, immigration status for non-citizens, and employment. You may, if you choose to proceed without an attorney, you may change your mind at any time and may request counsel from the court. At the bottom of this document, it states defendant's choice, mark initials next to only one choice. If your choice is I want to reset this case to hire an attorney, the case will be reset. If you have already hired an attorney, then you would have to name that attorney and place your initials on the second line to the left. If your choice is I want to apply for court appointed attorney, you put your initials on the third line to the left. Or if your choice is you've already hired or you've already been appointed a code appointed attorney, then you put your initials on the fourth line to the left and the name of the attorney on the line to the right. If your choice is I want to waive my right to an attorney and represent myself, then you put your initials on the fifth line to the left. Now, on the first line to the left, if your choice is you want to reset your case to hiring, you'll put your initials on that line. And once you finish initialing one of the 5 lines, you will sign where it says defendant, and you would date it today's date, June 11th of 2021. Do you understand?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, so he's gonna have to fill out a financial questionnaire. There should be a financial questionnaire that you can fill out. Just have a seat. You got a clip, you got a pen. I think there's a pen there. You fill it out. Yeah, just have a seat, fill it out, and then we'll call you back up.